Action. Hey, what is up, guys? This is Commerce64. How you guys are doing today? I'm back with another video. And so for this video right here, I'm going to be talking about Mark Wahlberg. I'm going to be talking about the day I met him. You know? So, many of you guys may not know this, but I actually met Mark Wahlberg many years ago, back in 2013. And it was in around late 2013, you know? So basically, I was invited to attend his special screening of The Lone Survivor. You know, his new movie, The Lone Survivor, that came out the year after in 2014. You know, so this was late 2013, and basically, the movie was going to come out in 2014, and in late 2013. The movie was going to come out in early 2014, and in late 2013 they had like a special screening, an early screening of the movie. You know, yeah. So the Lone Survivor probably must have finished filming somewhere around in early to mid 2013, and then went up to post production because I've come to learn that movies, you know, they do kind of finish filming, you know, a year prior, before the year to actually release. Like Masters of the Universe began filming somewhere last year in 2025 and wrapped up filming in June of 2025, and then went off to post production, and now it got released here in this year in 2026. But I think maybe in late 2025 or maybe December 2025 that there probably was an early screening of it. You know, something like that. I'm sorry if I got a little bit off topic right there, but you know, that's just something that I learned. And some of you guys are like, you never knew this. You should have known this. You know, this is the way how it's always been. You know. Sorry, you know. I think I did probably knew about this, but probably forgot or something. I don't know. But back with Mark Wahlberg. Now, you guys are probably wondering, how did you got to be invited to a special screening of The Lone Survivor? Well, here's the thing. Apparently, you see, when I was in high school, you know, this was around like my last year in high school. Apparently one of the staff members in my homeroom, you know, basically knew Mark Wahlberg. He knew him from the movie Four Brothers, and he attended the premiere with him. You know, he walked the red carpet with him. Says that he was really, really, really close with Mark Wahlberg. You know, and he actually convinced me to write Mark Wahlberg a letter and ask if Mark Wahlberg will be interested in coming over to my high school and to meet me. You know, I wasn't sure if something like that was gonna work, but you know, I figured, you know, okay, sure, you know. One of the staff members who was my one-on-one pair helped me, you know, type the letter and, you know, and sent it to him. You know, we write the letter saying that you're a cool actor. I'd like to meet you. We sent him the letter, and he eventually got the letter, and you know, I guess like a couple days or months later, you know, he replied back, and he offered to invite me to a special screening of his new movie, The Lone Survivor, at the time. You know, they were showing an early screening for the movie. The movie was going to come out, you know, next month, or I think January of 2014, you know. Yep, you know. But, you know, it is said that Mark actually said that, you know, he was going to come to my high school, but unfortunately, things didn't plan out well. I guess some things kind of got on the way. You know, he had other things to take care of, so he decided to just invite me to the special screening of his movie, The Lone Survivor, you know. And when I got that, I was like, wow, this is amazing, you know. I was really surprised, you know. I didn't think something like this was really going to happen, you know. So, you know, and then, you know, so, like, it was, I think it was going to happen on Sunday. So, Sunday, we had to go to Hingham, Massachusetts. You know, that's where the special screening was being held. So I went with a staff member who was my one-on-one pair, and this girl who was, I think, his niece. You know, all three of us, we went, you know, My mom was okay with it. We actually thought that he invited me and my whole family, but it was actually me. But and I guess I could bring like two other people if I want to. I think like there were like tickets, and my brother wasn't sure if he wanted to come with me, but he decided not to. So you know it was me, my one-on-one pair, the staff member who was my one-on-one pair at the time, and his that girl who was, I think, his niece. Well, yeah, she was. I think she was an adult too. So, and all three of us, we drove all the way to Hingham. You know, it was, and I'll tell you this, it was a really long drive. It was a really long drive. And now I'll be honest. When we got, I actually thought it was going to be the premiere for the movie, but it was just a special screening. That's all it was. Because I was thinking to myself, man, am I actually going to a movie premiere? Am I really going to a movie premiere for real? Like, wow. Well, it turns out it wasn't a movie premiere, but well, it's fine. It is what it is. It is what it is. Movie premieres and special screenings, they feel like they're somewhat the same in a way. This is what I think. They're both events. So yeah, I went, to the special screening along with the two other people. We were at this fancy place, where I guess like it was like some kind of a party or something, where celebrities have those kind of parties. Yep, and I was pretty much honored because wow, and the staff member, he said that you're hanging with the big boys now, and yeah, I guess I am. Because now, to stop for it right there for a second, guys, I always kind of somewhat dreamed of being an actor, but and I still might pursue that dream, but I'm thinking about maybe just starting off as a voice actor and then slowly working my way up to being an actual actor, I just find acting to be kind of fun, and honestly, I always have a bit of a comedic side to me, I always have, So yeah, when we got to Hingham in Massachusetts, like I said, it was a long drive, a really long drive. I don't know how long. I don't know if I want to say it was the longest drive I've ever been on. I mean, probably not. I'd say the first one was back in 2004, where me and my family drove all the way to New York. That will have to be the longest drive ever, for sure. Yep, that was something. Memories. So back on the event, for special screening, we were at we were at like the party thingy, and then I actually saw Mark Wahlberg walk in, and like, wow, and he was like we were just right behind him in a way, like I was like I was thinking about I should go up to him and say hi, but when the staff member of my one pair, he says that it's probably no, probably not yet, probably not a good idea, yeah, and Mark Wahlberg, when I saw him, that's the first time I saw him, he had like some kind of thing around his neck. I don't know if his neck hurt or something, but I guess he was fine. His neck hurt or something. I don't know. And then we all went in, and we then all went into the special screening for the movie. And Mark. He didn't talk about. Glad you guys all are here. This is a special project of mine, something like that. And hope you guys enjoy. So and then the movie played, and I'll be honest, the movie was, I found the movie to be pretty decent. To be frankly honest, for some reason I did kind of fall asleep, during like in some parts of the movie, like later on. It's not that I found the movie boring or anything. It's just that the Sad Troopers guys sometimes, and this does seem to happen a lot to me when I go to the movies, especially late at night. I tend to kind of like just fall asleep sometimes, like during like the middle part, like during like either close to the climax, like the Mandalorian and Grogu, which I saw the first time I went to go see that, I basically kind of fall asleep a couple times, but then I fall asleep like during like closely like during the climax of the movie, and kind of bummed me out a little bit, and like and this has happened the past couple times when I have seen movies. Like when I first see a movie for the first time in the theater, Black Panther, I fall asleep during the middle section, and other movies like that movie with Edward Norton, where he plays this guy with the disability thing, and Alec Baldwin is in that movie. That movie right there, you know, you know, and this has happened a couple of times. And I think How to Train Your Dragon back into all the way back in 2010 when I first saw that in theaters. I kind of fell asleep during the climax, and I woke up at the part where Hiccup got his, new leg thingy, that ankle leg thingy, that his dad has. So that has kind of somewhat been a habit of mine for some reason. That's happened out of my control. I don't know. It's not that I find some of the movies boring. It's just that I guess because sometimes when it's side up, it's because it's late at night and just like I just get kind of sleepy. You know. Like when I was filming my whatever happened to Will Smith video, I did kind of doze off a bit. I'm so sorry about that because that was late at night. It was midnight, so I was getting a bit tired, and I was decided to just wrap up the video quickly. Yeah, no, something like that. So yeah, but the Lone Survivor, I did got to see the rest of it. Wake up quickly and see the rest of it. One of the main scenes I remember in that movie was when Mark Wahlberg, when he was, I think, his character was held captive, and like he had a bomb, and he was like, "I blow this up, then you won't go home." Yeah, something like that. But yeah, Lone Survivor was pretty much a decent movie. It really was. I pretty much enjoy. I remember enjoying it, and I think I might check the movie out again. To see what it's like. And now, after all that was done, after the movie was finished, we went to they had like a party. I think it was an after party. Like celebrities, those after parties, like after a movie premiere, because whenever like there's a movie premiere or a special screening or something, some kind of event, celebrities. I'm doing something right now, smoke detector thingy. So whenever celebrities go to do these premieres or these premieres, events, screenings and stuff like that, after they're done watching the movie, because you guys know the whole thing about movie premieres. Celebrities, they walk on the red carpet or whatever color the carpet is. Sometimes the carpet could be blue or a different color. Like the Transformers movie from 2007. That movie premiere, I remember that one. The movie premiere for that movie was the carpet was blue, actually, and yeah, that's one of the main movie premieres I actually remember. Way back in 2007. And there were other movie premieres, like, The Incredible Hulk from 2008. The carpet was green. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the carpet was pink. And the SpongeBob movie, the first SpongeBob movie, and I think this has been the case for other SpongeBob movies that had premieres, the carpet was yellow. So carpets are not always red. There's different colors, Well, it depends on what it is. Either some of them could be blue, green, yellow, or pink. But mainly red. And I think some of them have been black, honestly. I think Spider-Man 3 had a movie premiere where the carpet was black. Or maybe white or any other color, orange or whatever. I think Garfield had a movie premiere that had an orange carpet. I'm sorry, but yeah, but also, but movie premieres, the whole thing with movie premieres, we are, celebrities, they walk on the carpet, they take pictures with their co-stars, if they like their co-stars, because there are some celebrities that they don't like their co-stars and don't bother to take pictures with them, like, Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, when they both attended the premiere of It Ends With Us, they rarely took a picture together because they weren't really on speaking terms. They didn't get along. And that whole drama between them is like, man, it is what it is. And celebrities that they take pictures with each other, and then they do interviews and all that stuff. Talk about the movie, promote the movie, say wow, they're looking forward to going in and watch the movie. And then when they go into the movie premiere, I guess the people behind the movie, the director, writers, the producers, actors, they go on stage before the movie starts and say, we hope you guys enjoy this movie, and the movie plays, and then after the premiere, they have like an after party. Even the same case with special fan events, special screenings, So that was kind of like after we had like there was like a party, the after party, yeah, and and then that's where I got to meet Mark Wahlberg. Yep, I got to meet Mark Wahlberg face to face for the very first time, and it was awesome. I'm gonna tell you guys, it was one of the best experiences that I ever had in my life, honestly. And that has been the day that I've kept close to my heart and I cherish to this day because, to be honest, guys, this is actually the first time that I ever got to meet a celebrity. The very, very, very first time that I ever got to meet a celebrity, a big name actor, because I never thought in my life that I would ever meet a huge Hollywood actor, a huge figure in the entertainment industry, a huge name celebrity. Now, Mark Wahlberg, before that, I have seen some of his movies. Ted from 2012 that came out a year prior. You know, you know. I remember Planet of the Apes. Unfortunately, that 2001 Planet of the Apes movie. Unfortunately, not a good movie. But I thought it was fine for what it was. And he also did The Happening. Yeah, terrible movie. Very, very terrible movie. Don't bother. Don't waste your time with that one. And that movie is 20 years old now. Funny enough, came out in 2006, I believe. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So it's 20 years old now, in 2026. Yeah, so 2026 is pretty much is pretty much the year where things from 2006 are 20 years old. Superman Returns. X Men: The Last Stand, Barnyard, the Nickelodeon movie, Power Rangers Mystic Force, Go-Go Sentai Bowcanger, Comrade Kabuto, many other stuff, Monster House and all this stuff. Digimon Saviors or Digimon Data Squad is known over here, that kind of stuff. So yeah, and Mark Wahlberg, I have seen a couple of his movies, but not too much of them. And speaking of Ted, I am going to be doing a video where I talk about the Ted franchise and why I think the Ted franchise is pretty funny and very unique for what it is. So Mark Wahlberg, meeting him, was a lot of fun. It was kind of cool. We took 2 pictures apparently. There's like there's like one picture where it's like him, and the staff member who came with us, my one pair staff member. There's one picture that was the 3 of us, and then there was a second one. The second one there where there was the second one where it's like he's signing some stuff for me because there are some people I brought along with me so he can sign, and he was nice enough to sign it. And so the girl, his niece, the niece who of the staff member, I think it was his niece. I think it was, she took those pictures, and then like the picture that has me, Mark, and the staff member, him, apparently they kind of made like an edited version where they cut him out. It's just me and Mark Wahlberg. I guess that's cool, but I also kind of feel bad for and like it feels like he's left out or something. But it is what it is, I guess. And Mark Wahlberg talking to him was pretty cool. And I asked him, for the new Transformers movie, the 4th movie that he's going to be in. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, I'm going to invite you to premiere. And, oh, really? I'm like, cool. And yeah, the premiere of Transformers Age of Extinction, yeah, he said he was going to invite me to premiere. Well, unfortunately, that never happened. It's fine. It's not a big deal. Things happen. Would I love to go? I guess, sure, why not? But Transformers Age of Extinction wasn't really a good movie, so I probably won't. I probably would have left it look at some of the other Transformers movies. The first one is still good. The sequels are pretty much blah, honestly. But they have their moments. And also, I also mentioned him like, hey, do you know what happened? You remember what happened with Paul Walker? And he said, yeah, he did. Yeah, because this was around the time. This was like months after Paul Walker passed away, basically, from that tragic car accident. And funny enough, I did do a video about that. It's called "Rest in Peace, Paul Walker." It's pretty much a very old video, and I believe it's still up on my channel. Rest in Peace, Paul Walker. This was one of my old videos I used to do back in the day. My old videos when I was starting YouTube in late 2013. Now when I did went to the special screening of the movie, I did bring my camera, but and then the staff member, I'll call him staff member because he said that you shouldn't. It's probably not a good idea. You shouldn't record them. Well, I was thinking about using my cameras to take a picture, and like, keep in mind, I had a camcorder, so camcorders they can also be used to take pictures, not just film. And I was thinking about maybe doing some. I was maybe thinking about doing some filming, maybe, but then he says the staff member says, "Ah, it's not a good idea." So yeah, I guess so. But I ended up getting a picture with Mark Wahlberg and two pictures actually, and I guess three maybe. You know, and he got to sign some stuff. And I think I still have some of them to this day. He signed some stuff for my brother, and he also signed something for this girl who basically who I know from this school job, that because during when I was in high school, they had like this program where you can work at a job and make some money. I was working at this recycling place. I have history of being recycled. I did recycle back in high school. My first couple years of high school, first 4 years in high school, and then and this lady, this girl, she's from like another high school. Apparently, because this job that works at, they have people from different high schools, and apparently, yeah. So, and she was a huge fan of Mark Wahlberg, and she was dreaming about being an actress. And when I found out that she's a fan of Mark Wahlberg, and since I found out I was going to meet him, I decided I'd be nice to get his autograph for her. And she actually liked it. She was nice. She actually liked it, and she was like, "Oh, thanks. This is really nice." Yeah, yeah. Because the next day after Sunday after the whole event, I went to the recycling job, and I pretty much told everyone that I met him, and they were like, "Oh, cool, awesome, yep, yeah, yeah." It was pretty awesome. Like, it was one of the best events I ever been to. It was so cool to meet Mark Wahlberg. He was just an awesome dude. From what I've seen, and and that's pretty much about it. And then after we left the after party, we then went on to McDonald's, and then we went. Yeah, I was the staff member drove me back home. I told my family about my brothers and my dad that my mom was at work, so but I eventually told her about it. It was pretty much a lot of fun. It was really a fun experience indeed. Now, and I still cherish it to this day because this is actually one of the first times that I ever got to meet a celebrity. Now, I did make a video called "Famous People That I Have Met" on YouTube. And I have some pictures of me with Mark Wahlberg on there. So in that video, the video is called "Famous People That I Met" or "Famous Celebrities That I Met," something like that, and it's up on my channel. It was a really fun event. It really was. And I cherish this because this is actually one of the first time I ever got to meet a famous celebrity. Now, my brother, in a way, he pretty much, whenever like a Mark Wahlberg is on screen, like on a commercial or a movie coming out, my brother will be like, "Hey, Robert, your boyfriend's on TV or something anymore. Has a new movie," because and my brother feels like that. I kind of suck up to Mark Wahlberg because I think he's looking like he's great. He's like the greatest thing ever, person ever. But like my brother still telling me, "Hey, you don't really kiss up to him, because yeah, he's a celebrity, but that doesn't mean like he's better than you." And my brother even tells me that maybe he probably didn't. He probably doesn't even remember you, and yeah, he probably doesn't. And my brother's like, he probably doesn't even like you, and maybe he probably never even wanted to meet you. And then like, saying like, "Oh, when we left, he probably like looked at me and laughed at me and smirked at me like I'm nobody special or something." No, my brother, I guess I understand why he feels that way because sometimes celebrities, the truth about celebrities, and this has been said time and time again, celebrities, they're regular people at the end of the day, and sometimes celebrities, they can be fake sometimes, Mark Wahlberg, could he be a fake person? Maybe. Who knows? But, he seemed like a really genuine guy when I met him, Sure, he probably could have been pretending, or maybe he was just serious. He was real. But, well, he invited me to the special screening of his movie, The Lone Survivor, so I'm assuming that he was sincere about that. Now, Mark Wahlberg, I don't. I probably doubt he does. I doubt that he probably does remember me. I doubt he probably doesn't. He probably does remember me. You know, who knows if he remembers the special screen of Lone Survivor? You know, he probably, yeah, he probably doesn't remember me. He probably forgot I existed or something. But and yeah, my brother's right. You know, I shouldn't kiss up to him, but I didn't kiss up to him or anything. I just kind of cherish that moment because that was the first time. Like again, I said, this has been one of the first time I ever got to meet a celebrity. And I never thought something like that would ever happen. Like I thought the chances of me meeting a celebrity at the time was pretty much 0 to nothing, really. But lo and behold, it ended up happening. And funny enough, interesting enough, my brother, he did actually got to see Alfred Molina at like some kind of event. I think it was when he was in college. Alfred Molina was at some kind of event, and my brother got to see him like on stage. And then my brother got to see Marlon Wayans. Marlon Wayans came to visit his college, I think. And he was talking to all of them, and he looked at everyone, and he actually looked at my brother. So Marlon Wayans basically made eye contact with contact with my brother, and maybe very quickly, like something like look around, so something like that. And also, Jeff Bridges and Ryan Reynolds, they came to Boston to Regal Cinema to promote their new movie, R.I.P.D., and they were there, and my brother, the Regal movie theater, and my brother was actually, interesting enough, was actually working there at the time, and they came to the movie theater. And my brother, unfortunately, I don't think he got to see them, but they were there. So I guess we have met some famous people in a way. So Mark Wahlberg, I want to say he's the first famous person in the world that I met. That honor will probably have to go to Mayor Thomas Menino, who came to my high school back in 2009. But I guess Mark Wahlberg is like the first huge popular figure around the world to figure around the world who I have met. And then, in terms of other famous people I've met, famous people I've met have essentially just been voice actors. Tony Oliver, Patrick Swayze, and Monica Rial at Anime Boston back in 2016. Anime Boston 2017. Michelle Ruff, Anime Boston. Yeah, I think Anime Boston 2017. Yeah, I did. Yeah, Anime Boston 2017. Anime Boston 2018. I got to meet the amazing voice actor himself, the man, the myth, the legend himself, the GOAT, Steve Bloom. And I got to meet his wife, Mary Elizabeth. Forgot her last name, but she voiced Nina Williams in the Tekken franchise. And also got to see some other voice actors. Now, Tony Oliver, Patrick Swayze, and Monica Rial, they pretty much saw me. I don't know if you want to say that I met them directly, but this was at a panel back in Anime Boston 2016, which is still up on my channel if you want to check it out. I kind of felt bad because I think I probably made Tony Oliver felt uncomfortable when I went up on and shook his hand. I felt like I probably creeped them out. Keep in mind, that was my first time at a panel. I was just new to the whole thing. I do kind of feel bad because I felt like I was being disrupted, and I'm so sorry for that. If I ever meet Tony Oliver, I will deeply apologize. I met Monica Rial again last year back at Fan Expo, and I apologized to her, and she said, "No, don't worry, it's fine. We do this stuff for you guys." Anime Boston 2019, I met Johnny Young Boss. I met Lisa Ortiz. I met Richard Edgar. I met his wife. I forgot her name. Tara Stans, another popular World War 4 Kids voice actor, like Lisa Ortiz, who voiced Richie from Pokemon, Mokuba from Yu-Gi-Oh!, Biscuit Kruger from Hunter x Hunter, and Anna from Shaman King. Now, I want to say I met her directly, but she saw me when I was the panel that she was at, asking questions. So she saw me basically. Hey, I'm back. Sorry, guys. Apparently, I was recording for too long, and the SD card didn't reach its maximum how much data it can have. So I took some stuff off the SD card, and now I have more room. So back what I was saying, Tara Sands, she saw me at the panel, voice actor tour panel, I think it was called, when they get like a couple of different voice actors at a panel, they answer some questions, something like that. And then 2020, 2021, everything was closed because of the pandemic, COVID. 2022, I unfortunately didn't meet anyone. I think I met some famous people, but I forgot who they were. 2023, I got to meet a couple of voice actors. The voice actors who voiced Kurapika from Hunter x Hunter. The guy who voiced Hisoka and Vector the Crocodile. The voice actors who voiced Squid Girl and a couple others. Sarah, the voice actress who's been the current voice of Ash Ketchum for years now. I met her at Anime Boston 2023 and Fan Expo 2024. And Fan Expo 2024, I got to meet Bridge Hartman, a couple others, Roger Craig Smith, Bryce Dallas Howard. I saw her, and I think she saw me. I called out her name, and she looked at me. And last year at Fan Expo, I got to meet a whole bunch of voice actors and a couple of famous people. Sony Sad, who voiced Krillin and Bardock from Dragon Ball and Usopp from One Piece. Eon Sinclair. Colleen Klinkenbeard, I think. I'm not sure if I met her, but I think she left, or I don't know. But Montreal, I met her again the second time. The voice actress for Naruto, I met her, but unfortunately she was eating, so I wasn't able to shake her hand or have her actually do some voices. But I did say hi. She was eating while she was at her booth. And I met other voice actors. The voice actors were K-pop Demon Hunters, which was really big last year, and I think it's still big now. And a whole bunch of other famous people. And I bet I'm probably gonna meet some more famous people at Fan Expo next month. Fan Expo Boston. So, yeah, I met a lot of famous people, afterwards. And also back with the fan screen event at The Lone Survivor, Mark Wahlberg's brother, one of Mark Wahlberg's brothers, I forgot his name, which one it was, but I met him there as well. And also, now the guy who Mark Wahlberg's character plays, because The Lone Survivor, I got to mention, it was actually based on an actual event, I think, based on a true story. Mark Wahlberg's character plays a fictional version of a real life person. The guy who was actually one of the lone survivors. The guy, he was there. I don't think I got to meet him. We were kind of close to him, so he was like over there talking. They got a picture of him, so that was something. That was kind of cool, So yeah, just the whole experience right there, going to the Lone Survivor event, special screening, it was a lot of fun, and I kind of cherish that memories, one of the best memories that I've ever had in a long time, honestly, And, I highly doubt that I'll probably experience something like this ever again. Unless if I'm living in either New York or something, or in some cases, certain events do happen here. Because, here in Boston, not a lot of awesome events happen here. I mean, there's some, but not like huge, like celebrities coming over, movie premieres are kind of rare. But there are cases where they do film some stuff here, like, I think a couple years ago, they were filming something for a TV show or a movie, I think, And it was pretty cool, honestly, This movie, and you know, Mark Wahlberg, I still look at him as like I still think he's a great actor. He's amazing. He's great. He's all around great. Sure, he had a dark past. When he was a teenager, when he was young, he did some very terrible things, and I think he was probably racist. And he used to hang out with bad people, did some bad things, and there was that infamous rumor that he basically he blinded a man with a bat. But it is as he said that the guy was already blind in that eye, blinded in that. Yeah, Mark Wahlberg, he basically blinded a guy in one eye, hitting him in the bat, hit him with a bat. But apparently the guy was already blind because he was like a soldier in the Vietnam or something. I think it was an Asian guy. And no, Mark Wahlberg, he did do some bad things during his youth. Throwing rocks at people and doing other stuff. But when he was arrested and went to prison, they kind of straightened his life out, and he realized that he needs to straighten things out and be a different person. He needs to straighten his life out. And yeah, he became a rapper, and then he started transitioning to movies and such. And most of those people that he used to hang out with, he did say in an episode of 60 Seconds that he was in that those people are probably either dead or in jail, are probably dead or in jail. But it is kind of good to get away from certain people that are probably bad influence. People, we all used to hang out with people that were probably bad influence and that led us down the wrong path. And then we eventually cut ties with people because we realized that those people were not good for us. And I guess that was kind of the case with my older brother. Back when he was a teenager, he used to hang out with a lot of bad people. Some of them, well, not all of them were bad. Some of them were okay. Some of them were questionable, and some of them were just straight up bad influence. And some of them kind of got him into trouble and stuff like that. But but not all of them were bad. I mean, some of them were bad. One of them actually ended up stealing $400 from him, and that same guy also stole my Men in Black 3 DVD, Blu-ray DVD that my brother got for me for my birthday, our birthday actually, because we're twins actually. Well, we don't look alike though. Yeah, it is kind of better to get away from people who you just know are bad influence. I think there should be a phrase of to choose your friends wisely. I think that is a thing. Choose your friends wisely. Well, but Mark Wahlberg, he eventually cleaned up his act and look where he is now. He's a very successful man, a very successful career. He has a family and such, and he's still doing great. He's still doing movies. He has an upcoming movie coming out this year in 2026, or maybe, I don't know, in late 2027, early 2027, I don't know. I think it's a movie where he teams up with this guy. The actor is from the Marvel series Wonder Man, the Disney Plus Marvel Cinematic Universe series. I think it's more connected to Marvel MCU, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Wonder Man. Yeah, they're going to be teaming up in that movie. So it looks like it's going to be like a buddy cop movie, take place in the old times, stuff like that. I might check that out. Seems interesting. And Mark Wahlberg, he's also from Boston, like I am. So, and apparently a couple months ago, he was in Boston, shooting a new movie where he's teaming up with an autistic, where he's seeing an autistic person or autistic son. I think the character's supposed to be autistic. The person's supposed to be. The movie's about him traveling with his autistic son, something like that. It's definitely very interesting because the truth is, guys, I don't think I ever told you guys this, but I am actually autistic in a way. I have autism. It is kind of rare to see it because I look like I probably don't have it, but I actually do have it. Despite the fact I have autism, I don't let it affect me that much, and I still try to act normal, to the best that I can, and such, autism, it's something you can't help sometimes, but it happens. You just gotta do the best that you can, try to control it, and try to make the best of it. You know. So it was kind of cool. So it looked like this new movie that he filmed a couple months ago. I don't know if it's still filming or they probably wrapped it up filming, and it's definitely going to be released next year in 2027. 2027 is going to have a lot of bangers of movies. We got Man of Tomorrow, Avengers: Secret Wars, Legend of Zelda, Sonic the Hedgehog 4, a Minecraft movie too. What else? A whole bunch of awesome stuff coming out in 2027, for sure. Definitely looking forward. I wonder if some of those movies, I think finished filming. I think Man of Tomorrow is still being filmed, and a Minecraft movie too. I don't know if that's still filming. But the others, I know that they already finished filming. Secret Wars, I think, finished filming. Legend of Zelda and Sonic 4, yeah, those have wrapped up filming and they're in like post production. Principal photography. So and Sonic the Hedgehog 4 footage for that movie was actually shown at an event. So, and that probably might get leaked online somewhere. And I do think at the Game Awards in 2026. We're probably going to see a trailer for Sonic the Hedgehog 4. Like, how 2022, the Game Awards 2021, we saw a trailer for Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and, the year next in 2022, it was fully released, So, it's interesting how a movie is filmed one year and then released the next year. Like I mentioned earlier, it's fascinating, So if a movie's already finished, then maybe they could. It does feel like that. Maybe they could probably release a Zelda movie this year. If it's finished filming and it wrapped up its principal photography, but then it has to go to test screens and stuff, and that I have to wait a long gap for it to be released and it gets released the next year. Or maybe the Zelda movie could possibly be pushed back to 2028. Like the Mortal Kombat movie was supposed to come out last year in 2025, but was pushed back to this year in 2026. Mortal Kombat 2. That movie. So it is kind of interesting, Yeah, so Mortal Kombat 2 basically finished filming, I think, maybe around 2024. And they could have easily released it in 2025, but for some reason, I guess they decided to push it back to 2026, So, yeah. Hold on a sec, guys. And action. We are rolling now. Hey guys, I'm back. I'm sorry. Apparently the battery on the camera was about to die, so I decided to recharge it real quick, and this later part is coming in the afternoon because right now it's like 1:30 p.m. right now. Oh, no, 2:04 p.m. right now because all the earlier half, everything before was filmed like in the morning a.m. I was filming around like from 10 a.m. to like 11 a.m. Everything in the first half of this video, and this last part right here, this edited part right here, is from the the afternoon, the p.m. Just to let you guys know. Then I went out for a bit, went to the library, did some stuff, and and I'm going back there later today. So yeah, me overall, meeting Mark Wahlberg was pretty awesome and really cool. It's just one of the moments that I cherish to this day. Because I got to meet a huge name celebrity and it's pretty awesome. And my brother thinks I probably suck up to him, but it's nothing like that. It's just say I got to meet a famous celebrity. I'm just cherishing that moment. Like if you were to meet a celebrity for the very first time, you would probably cherish that moment, And and like Mark Wahlberg, he probably doesn't remember me. He probably doesn't remember the screening of The Lone Survivor. Maybe he does, or maybe he doesn't. Maybe he does remember the event, but he probably doesn't remember me. Or maybe he does remember me, but just doesn't remember my name. And just remember, he only met me one time, and that's about it. But sometimes who knows? If he ever runs into me again, which I doubt, but who knows? maybe that could jog his memory and he might remember me again. You know. But or maybe, and my brother, he says that maybe, my brother, that, Mark Wahlberg probably didn't think too much of me. Thought I was just a nobody. He probably, when me and the other people were leaving the event, my brother says that he probably was just smirking at me, think, God, that guy was nothing, really. And like he said, yo, don't suck up to him. He's not better than you. He probably just, when you probably left, he probably was smirking at you, something like that. Yeah, we don't know. Celebrities, they could be, we meet them. They could act like, nice people. Sometimes they could pretend to act like nice people, or maybe they just were acting like nice people. It's pretty much hard to say because and just because a person gives off a good vibe that they could be a good person, that doesn't really hypothetically mean that they are good people. They could be hiding skeletons in their closets. They could be doing bad things. They could be doing something like on the dark web or something. You know what I'm saying? But if you meet a famous person, whether that be a big name celebrity or a voice actor at an event, just have fun. Don't worry about how they act like in their personal lives. That's not narrative. That's nothing special. What's special that you meet them, you talk to them for a bit, say you like their work and stuff, and see if they're amazing, and all that stuff. Don't be concerned with what they do in their personal lives. If they're shitty people in their personal life, then oh well, it is what it is, and they probably don't care about the little people. Or they probably do. Who knows? But that's kind of thing. And I think I mentioned something like this in my meeting Monica Riel at Fan Expo. I made months ago. Yeah. If you meet some celebrities, a celebrity you don't like, don't be like a jerk to them or something. Just remain positive. When you go to a convention or something, just go have fun and stuff like that. And Mark Wahlberg, will I ever meet him again? Probably not. I highly doubt it. Unless if he were to come back to Boston, for an event or something. But hey, who knows? So yeah, I think that's gonna be it for this video. Hope you guys liked it. Sorry that it went on too long and I was like jumping all over the place talking about other stuff. My bad. My apologies, guys. It happens with me sometimes, But I'll be uploading this video later. Be on the lookout for it. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe, and all that jazz. More videos coming out in the future. This is Commerce64. Sign out. Shout out to Marky. Also, one more thing I forgot to mention. I am going to do a video talking about the TED franchise. So, be on the lookout for that. Anyways, see you guys later.